How we doing, guys?
Is this camp just a continuation of what you've done all off season, or do you approach it a little bit differently since this is the last time you spent with them before training camp?
Well, for the most part, it's real similar to what we've been doing the last 3 weeks. A couple differences. The one thing is it's mandatory, so everybody has to be here. We're fortunate our guys were here all throughout the OTA, so that's not a big difference for our team. The other thing is you're allowed to have a longer day, so we'll have meetings after practice this week, and it gives us an opportunity to watch the tape and kind of review the day maybe a little bit more than we've been able to do the last few weeks. We always like to do situational stuff in all of our practices. You'll see more of that here these next few days, where we put offense on the side, defense on the side, and we do what we call play-it-out situations. So you'll see a lot of that here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week.
Talked before about the rookies having to get up to speed. How do you guys go about that? Do they do extra stuff after this stuff? How do you guys get the
you
rookies
try to
up?
spend as much time as you can with them. There aren't restrictions on the rookies' day like there is on the Veterans' Day throughout the off season, so you do have an opportunity to get with them more. And the biggest thing we tried to do at the outset of the off season with the rookies was lay a foundation for their strength and conditioning. So we want to make sure we continue to do that really throughout this time. To get them up to snuff physically, and then you spend as much time as you can with them outside the normal meetings to help them really just catch up mentally on what they're behind on. And so much of it is just their scheme work, the technique part of it. And so we try to, as much as we can, spend the extra time with them to give them a fighting chance.
Same guys who've been out stay out, including guys like Leighton and some other guys, or there's some guys that may work.
Yeah, the same guys who have been out will stay out. There are some guys working an individual. Leighton will work an individual here today and on Thursday. L.C. Collins, Travis Frederick will work an individual, and Alan Hearns and Tavon Austin will work an individual, again, today and on Thursday.
How much value is there in the sense that you guys have had so many of your key players participate so much in these off-season programs when you're here for the mandatory aspect of it?
I just think it's valuable to building our team, and so many of our players live here in Dallas. We obviously have a great facility. They like to be around here, so they like to work out here. They like to work out together. That's a real bonus for our team. I think it allows you to lay the kind of foundation you need to have for the rigors of a 17-game season, and I think that's been really positive for us. You always have new players on your team, whether it's rookies coming in or guys coming in from the outside. There's always turnover. So anytime you work together and you have shared commitment, I think that starts to create the bonds that you need going forward. And that's really what the best thing is about football. The bonds you create, the relationships you establish, you need them if you want to be part of a really good football team. And those are some of the best things to have as you go forward in your life. So I think it all fits together, and we're fortunate to have the kind of guys who want to be a part of it. We've got a lot of the right kind of guys on our team, and they go about things the right way.
Talk about your young players. How are your two young backup quarterbacks progressing this offseason?
They're doing well. They've certainly made strides, and at any position it's important just to get reps, maybe most importantly at that position. So the more work they get, the better they get. One of the things we really try to do this time of year and in the early part of training camp is we try to keep the reps equitable. It's not, hey, the ones are getting all the reps. We try to keep, if we have a 12-play set, we try to go 4-4-4, so everybody's getting some work and the young guys are getting a chance to grow. And each of those guys could take every rep of every practice from now until the end of time, and they'll still want more. And that's what's good about these guys, and that's what's good about that position. You always can grow, but they're certainly going about it the right way.
Throughout the years, what can you say about the influence and contribution of long snapper LP Ladouceur on this team?
Could you just say his name one more time?
LP Ladouceur.
Yeah. I took about 9 years of I took about 9 years of French, and I stop at LP. He's fantastic. LP, if you think about having a player on your team do what they do at a high level, I can make an argument that he's as good a player as we have on our team, because it's a really, really important job, and his ability to be so consistent, so accurate, so dependable for all these years has really made a difference for our team. If you followed our team, we've made a lot of big kicks at the end of games to win games. And he's the guy, that whole process starts with him. And he's just money. And more than that, he just is a true pro. He goes about it the right way. He's an unbelievable example for everybody on this football team. How he takes care of his body, how he approaches it day in and day out. So he's had a big impact on our team, and we're lucky to have him.
You can introduce some French words? Did he learn you some French words?
Did he learn me some French words? You know, I kind of stopped at like fenêtre, you know, window. That was like when I was in fenêtre. Yes, that's what I get, right? I was kind of do it phonetically, and they look at me like, story of my life. I'll tell you a great story about taking French 102 when I was in college. And it was the most eye-opening experience of my life. We'll do it over a lemonade, but I'm still scarred from the experience.
How do you go about goal setting? Is that something you like to do just before the season or through each segment like OTAs and minicamp and so on? And what's your philosophy on evaluating that over time?
That's a great question. I think at the outset, whenever you're involved in something like we're involved in, you know, building the team, you need to start with where you want to go. And I think any player, coach, or staff member who's involved in the NFL wants to be on that platform the first week of February down there in Miami, holding the Super Bowl trophy over their head. So that's the very tangible goal that I think everybody in this business has. If you don't have that goal, you shouldn't be doing what we're doing. I think there are a lot of steps along the way. You know, our first goal tangibly is to win the division. You want to start by winning the division and then, you know, hosting a playoff game and all the different steps that you take to have an opportunity to play in that game and win that game. But there are many more goals beyond that, some less tangible goals that we really try to lay out for our team really each and every day. They have a lot to do with our expectations of ourselves, you know, what the players can expect from us, what we expect from them. So we try to be abundantly clear about those things. We try to monitor those things along the way and hold everybody accountable to those things. So it's a really good question. There are a lot of different levels to it, but I think that's just kind of the basic short answer.
I guess you have a set system on how you do that in the short term, day to day?
Yeah, you know, I don't know that we say at the start of the year, my goal for Tuesday, June 11th is this. You know, I do think that, you know, as you're going through a process, I do think, hey, what are the objectives? What are we trying to achieve by this practice, by this day, by this drill? And again, when you're in a leadership role, you try to outline that. You try to communicate that and then hold everybody accountable to what you're trying to achieve.
You guys really have a lot of faith in Kellen, or he wouldn't be in the position he's in, but this is the first time he's done it. So during this off season and in this mini camp, what are you looking for with him? Is it how he goes about the installation? Is it interact? I mean, what does he need to do, especially to make an impression with those guys going forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is we talk about the same kinds of things with all members of our staff. We want to coach our team well, and there are a lot of levels of that. It's how our coaches interact with each other. It's a collaborative process. There's no one coach on our staff who's doing everything. That's just not how it works, and I don't think that's how it works around the league. The best staffs I've been around, you know, the staffs work well together, and that's what we're going to try to do on offense, try to do on defense, and in the kicking game. So you want to be able to use all your resources. There are people on each side of the ball who are in leadership roles, and part of their job is to lead. And part of leading is bringing out the best in everybody. So I think that's something we've tried to emphasize right from the start, that it's a collaborative effort in all three phases of our team. And I think that's been good. I think how we've interacted together as a staff, how we put our systems together has been good. It started right at the outset of the off season, and it continues to grow through the different experiences that we have. You know, we try to evaluate ourselves and how we present the information to our team. What do the meetings look like? What do the walkthroughs look like? How is practice? You know, how's the recap after practice? So you're trying to get better in all those different areas. For the younger coaches who haven't been in front of the team very much, I think it's important to evaluate that and make sure they're able to command the room and hold the room and get the information across like we need them to. And I think all of our young coaches who have been in those roles, I think they've continued to grow in those areas. So I think those are all positive things. I believe very strongly in practice coaching. Sometimes older coaches say, well, it's like practice coaching. We're working those guys and they're not going to make our team. You know, I believe strongly in practice coaching. You got to get better individually. You got to get better as a staff and use every opportunity to do that. So we've been involved in that process, and I think we've improved over the course of the offseason.
A guy like Sean Lee, when he's been healthy, he's played all the time. Now that he's moving into maybe a different role on a strong side, what are the conversations you have with him, and what do you need to hear from him about accepting roles that might be different when he's been accustomed to?
Yeah, I don't know that we're at that point right now. I just think we're trying to get everybody on our team better each and every day. And Sean is one of those guys who's got such great energy and and such great leadership that, he's the guy that's out there in front of the drill, showing everybody how to do it, making plays. So you'll see him play Sam linebacker. You'll see him play some of the other linebacker spots. He's jumping in on special teams. So he's just someone who loves to play football. And, as we get closer into this thing, we'll sort out everybody's role. But, it wasn't like, hey, this whole acceptance thing. He's just trying to get better as a football player. And he's going about it the right way. He's had a great off season. It's fun to have him out there.
That just talked about how comfortable he is with Kellen, and how's it manifested itself? And have you seen that in his play in practice so far? Was his comfort level with Kellen?
Well, I think they like each other. I think there's mutual respect there. I think they communicate well together, and I think those are all positive things. You have to have that in all relationships between players and coaches, particularly that position, and that's a very valuable asset to have. When those guys interacting together, both in the meeting room and on the field, and so I think there's a level of respect that allows them to communicate well with each other, very honestly with each other, in a very positive way. I think John Kitten has had a really good influence as well. Kit's been in a lot of quarterback rooms throughout his career, and I think he helps that whole process, and that's really important as you guys are starting out together. And so I just think it's that. And you have to be honest with each other. As coaches, you have to be demanding of your players. Kellen's done a good job of that. Kit's done a good job of that. And I think Dak has benefited from the experience.
Jason, the competition committee's still trying to figure out what to do with the expanded replay, obviously. I know they talked to you guys, I think, last week. Where do you stand on that, and what do you hope to see the outcome of this thing be?
Yeah, we've had a lot of good conversations over the last couple months, and where I want to leave it today is I just know they're involved in the process. It's been a very thoughtful process. The conversations we've had, the subcommittee that I'm on, we've had great visits with all the decision makers on this, and the back and forth has been outstanding. The goal of the league is to kind of be able to address, some of the issues, a significant play that might happen at the end of a game that might have a big impact. Not unlike that New Orleans Rams game, the playoff game down there. I think they're just trying to be able to handle that and address that situation in as an unobtrusive way as possible. And they're going through all the different scenarios. So I'll let them finish that process before I weigh in on it. But again, I think the process has been a good one, and a lot of voices have been heard.
Will Tyron Crawford be at practice today, and if so, what will he be able to work into?
Tyrone Crawford will be at practice. He will not be practicing, though.
Has Kim talked about the nuances of going from teaching high school kids to now being back in the league and talking to a guy like Dak? I mean, is there anything that he can glean from the high school process and bring over to the NFL and vice versa? You guys had those sort of conversations?
Yeah, we have, and I think when you're coaching younger players, you really can't assume anything. You have to take them through the steps. Sometimes when you have an older player, a guy who's played a lot of football, you can kind of move through steps maybe a little quicker. You can maybe talk about things at a little bit of a higher level. Obviously, professional football players are more capable of doing some things, so you can ask more of them. So I think those are probably the biggest differences for him. But I don't think there's any question being around younger players and going through the techniques and the fundamentals from ground zero can really benefit you as a coach.
It's a make or break year for Jamil Showers. How much has he progressed in the offseason coming off that tough knee injury? What do you want to see?
Yeah, he's done a really good job with his rehab. Talk about the right kind of guy. He's just an outstanding person who goes about it the right way. Dealing with a position change early in his career, now dealing with some injuries. Comes to work every day with a great spirit, smile on his face, determined to get better and better and better. I do think he's still coming back from the injury. He's been every other day practicer, so he's been in and out just to help him recover and come back the way we need him to. But there's no question he continues to make progress, becoming more comfortable back there, and I think that shows up in his play.
How seamless has the Witten's transition been back here after a year away?
Yeah, it's been great. Witt loves ball, loves being part of a team, and he's just jumped right back in, so highly respected by our coaches and by his teammates and the staff members around here. And, he just comes to work. He comes to work. He's very committed to getting himself right physically, mentally, and emotionally to play. And you see that every day in his work, and it's a real treat to have him back.
How do you evaluate linemen when they're not in pads?
Well, I think you just evaluate them in the environment that they're in. Obviously, it's not completely realistic for anybody maybe mostly for them, but you can definitely see how they get in a stance, how they come out of a stance, their understanding of who to block, how quickly they do it, you know, on and on and on. Every aspect of the game beyond the physical part, I think you can do a really good job evaluating them. And I do think linemen working together in this kind of environment is big, so we try to coach that and teach that to make sure they understand how to compete against each other when they don't have shoulder pads and full gear on. And I think our guys have done a good job of that and allows those guys to get better every day.
On that note of working together as a line, does it take a readjustment for Travis to get back in the line, or because he's been doing this so long and many of those guys he's done it with before, do you think that communication just goes back?
Oh, I think it's an adjustment for everybody when they've been out of the lineup. You know, he didn't play any football for us last year, coming back from a couple medical things. But Travis is an outstanding person and goes about it the right way. We've talked about this a number of times, how engaged he was mentally and how helpful he was to everybody. He's a really smart player, communicates really well. So, you know, anytime a player's coming back, there's going to be some rust they have to knock off, but we do expect him to transition fairly smoothly.
You guys have stuck with Rico Gathers through his transition process from basketball to football. What do you need to see from him this season?
Just to continue to grow and be someone we can count on and rely on to put in a game and do things that we're asking our tight ends to do. And I think he's gotten better really each and every year. He takes a really good approach. I think he's learned how to become a professional, and he continues to grow. But like with any player, you need to see him get to a point where you can put him in and do a few different things we ask our tight ends to do. It's not an easy position. You're intimately involved in the running game, intimately involved in the passing game. So there's a lot of things for him to continue to learn, but he's definitely getting better and better.
On that, you guys have stuck with him over the years. With Witten back, does it make this training camp a little bit more challenging for him? In other words, he is going to have to make that step?
Yeah, he just has to continue to grow. He has to step up and, hey, we can put him in. And we like what he's doing when he's in there, you know. And that's what we're going to ask the other tight ends to do. We're going to ask Jason Witten to do that. And that's just the nature of things. And like I said, he goes about it the right way. He's getting better. And we'll make decisions about how we're cutting the team down, you know, a couple months from now. But he's certainly taking the right approach.
You guys kind of took it easy with Sean Waits and Jason last year to make sure he went into the season as healthy as he could be. Do you do anything differently this year than last?
Not really. You know, the only difference is Tyron, Witt, Sean, and Jamil Showers are taking the middle day of the 3-day sets off here in the off season. So each of those guys will practice today. They won't practice tomorrow. They'll practice again Thursday. That's the schedule they've been on the last few weeks. We'll figure out what their training camp schedule is to give them an opportunity to kind of get away and come back and be refreshed. But, you know, Sean's had an outstanding off season, really laying a great foundation for his season this year. All right, good to see you guys. I got to run.